Okay, so I took Javier's setup, I believe. I think it was Javier's setup. I only adjusted the tires a little bit, maybe a little higher in the front. Chassis, I like a little toe in for turn-in, and toe in the rear seemed to work better with some negative tone. I usually keep that neutral, but it just works better on this track. Keep the cambers kind of down, or at least I like to. Ride heights, that's actually lower than I thought. I think I raised it on my quali, but I will want to have that over 70. Well, it's 71 or better, only because of that Lance Garden, I think it's called, that dip up past the mountain, where you really drop off, and the front end just can come crashing down into the pavement and just destroy your front end. So yeah, keep it. Oh, I didn't want to. Excuse me. No, not the Q. 2. There you go. And so this may still not be enough. I don't know. It's probably good enough, because when we get up to there, you see why you don't want to go flying into that corner and just drop the front end down in the ground. I like it. The drive split's still down around 0.65. I think Javier's was up around 0.7. The gearing I've got, I picked out just because of some spots that I want to force myself not to over rev and go too far. I like a little coast ramp, just kind of keeps the rear end tame a little bit going into corners. But that's really about it. I haven't really messed around too much with it. Only had maybe a couple of different changes. Anyway, beyond the setups. Now, getting into here, the regular Strecca set, I don't have an easy way of getting these things up on board in a better way to see it. So I'll try to keep my headset down, because I want to see it in VR and know what I'm seeing when I come up to stuff. So here, this is actually going to be my second lap. The first lap was, you don't get a time. So you come in, go all the way around, come in. And here, you actually want to be a little further over here than I was. Then you can get a good angle going in here around this curb. You kind of want to be on that side of it, not this close, so that you can power out and not hit the guardrail. I wasn't on the gas as much just because of that. Down here, okay, I like to brake where did I brake? I like to brake, just before the 150 board. It's like in between this change in pavement and the 150. That's kind of my go-to spot. Keep it wide, low it down enough, get really turned in. You really have to get turned in there. I've realized that this is the key to getting around that point there in a good enough fashion so you can get straightened out and hammer the gas earlier. So it all starts back here at this bollard, getting around this corner really tight, and then you can power out, even slide a little bit, but you're not going to get up on that, over that curb there. Brake at those cones, same thing as before, everybody knows. Keep a good tight line in here, power out, let it slide if it needs to, but that's what all-wheel drive's for, right? Right there. I brake right there at this beginning of the grass, not after. You go after that grass and anything past that point right there, and I think you're toast. That way you can keep it tight without sliding too much, which I think I started to. Power out, take all that curb, get up on this thing right about, it's hard to gauge, but just once you ride up on it, you kind of let off, brake a little bit, ride that thing, and just start steering ahead. And brake at the line. You can take that curb if you want, you don't have to. This is the trickiest corner I ever get up on in this entire place. Seems like right about here, I guess, where there's, if you see these tire marks, I have it at moderate, about 55 or 60%. Yeah, 55%. That you should see some tire marks here. That's kind of what I use as a guide to start letting off and let off and start very lightly braking around there, so you can power out onto this curb. Turn in right at that change of pavement. I brake at the 100, hard and fast, can't go any further. Try to catch as much of that first. Try to catch as much of this as you can, but don't go over the red and white. It will easily give you a 1x. The second one is a lot more forgiving. Seems like you can take a little bit more of it, which I try to, but still don't go over the red and white. Here, I'm just sort of listening to the engine to brake. I don't really have a mark, I guess, to call where to brake. You just don't want to overcook it into this corner, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Usually take it a little bit wider than this so you can get straighter coming up, but you can power it out if you've got enough. If you woe it up enough, you can get it powered out. Right at that crown, I brake right before the crown so that you don't go sliding past the turn in here. Get a tight turn and then slide it out to the left as far as you can, and right at this two board or this paint here. Lord knows what's going to happen when iRacing ever, if iRacing ever rescans this track and gets the paint out, because I'm so used to these marks. But that's where I let off, slightly brake, hug that corner. Don't clip the curb like I did, but you get away with a little bit. I clip a lot of curbs here. Not a good idea, but you can power out and stay off of that, which will get slippery very fast. And here, again, this is my mark for where I'm gonna brake. Turn as hard left as you can. Brake again, a little bit harder, and whoa it up into second gear. Hug that corner. You can slide it out around here. And for some reason I shifted into third. I usually don't do that. Stay in second all the way through here. Hug this right corner. Now this I did not do well. Turned in a little bit too much. Don't do this. Stay wider. Turn in a little bit later, and you can get a closer or straighter line out. Of course, the end of that paint graffiti is the spot to brake. You can catch a little bit of that curb, but it usually doesn't work quite as well on this car as it does the GT3s. You know, you can kind of ride over everything with GT3s. The suspension's a little different, so this thing tends to slide more in those curbs, the flat curbs. And here in fourth gear, right at that crest, you're going to get a little air, but you let off. You don't brake. I'm not braking, or very little, just a little bit on approach to here. Cut it in, let it, you know, turn itself. The car will actually turn itself, because I guess some of the camera on this corner, and aim for that so that you can hammer it down. It'll stick. Shift before you get to the top of the hill. Here you just want a straight line. I missed it. I brake just before the 5K board, or Yokohama, whichever you see. But it's basically, yeah, there's sort of a change in pavement color there. And I'm braking right at that point, before that point. Because when you come over this crest, the car is actually going to hook. It'll sort of hook into the pavement right about here, over this crest. So you can keep following this corner without fearing sliding out here. It just grabs and goes, and I brake at that change of pavement. There, that is a no man's line. You go past that and you're probably going to go too wide at speed. And I generally don't navigate this corner very well, because of course I turned in and caught the curb. Blech. The Audi takes him pretty well, but it's not ideal. Now, coming through here, there is a bump right up past this second curb here on the third curb, and you have to shift. I have to shift from fourth to fifth before that, because if you do, the car unloads, the engine revs, the gearing kind of gets slack in it, and I've had it pop out of gear just on its own. Or if I've tried to shift right on that point, it'll not go into gear. So it's a bad thing to just wait. There's another spot going up in the mountain hill that's the same deal. Yeah, you can kind of hear that change in the engine revs after I shift. That's that dip right after here. You know, that kind of thing. That's where it would either pop out of gear, or you wouldn't get it into gear if you shifted there. So here I'm coming up before this board here, before the end of this. I'm probably, yeah, there's some, it's hard to see, there's some yellow paint. I can't see this at speed, but it's basically before you get to this, you know, maybe at the edge of this here, or the fencing here. It's always better to brake earlier than you really want to, because braking too late is just disaster in this thing. Because you really want to focus on getting exit speed, acceleration right out of the corners, of course. Same as any other car, but the Audi especially, since it's so prone to understeer on exit and so forth. You need to have them straightened out. So here, some people like to clip this curb. You know, I do, sometimes I don't. This time I didn't, but it straightens out at least, and right at that spotted line, you know, that's where I'm braking again. That was a little too tight inside here. Usually it's further out, but like I said, this is not my optimal lap, or even a good lap, really. Try to make it around this corner as tight as possible, furthest over as you can, and don't clip the curb again like I did. Usually I'm a little wider and go around, but you want to hit on the gas as much as possible, as soon as possible. And for here, I'm braking right about that board, I guess, but there's some paint there I look at. It's like the last bit of graffiti. I'm braking just a little bit and sliding around here. It literally will slide. Tail out. If I'd done that a little better, I could have hammered on the gas and been straighter until you get right up to, yeah, I'm already past it. Right here. I don't think there's another marker. It's just the feel and sound of the engine, you know, that I go by to figure out where exactly I'm going to stop. Curl this all the way around. And I missed the shift, of course. That's what I say. It's not a good lap. Going around here is kind of tricky anyway, even if you don't miss the shift. But I try to keep it in the middle. I really didn't, because I was messed up with the shift. Because this kind of rounds a little bit sharper as you get here, and you don't really want to be on this part of the curb. You kind of want to take it a little bit more towards the middle of the track and then straighten out and get a line down towards here. And here I'm braking where no marker again, you know, it's just kind of by feel. That's why you can be so inconsistent here. Well, maybe if you look at that whatever discolored grass, dirt, that might be a spot to look at, but it's right about where the pavement sort of has that kink there, because this is one of the places I fear the most a lot of people do. But cutting in here, you've got that cambered part on this track you can hook into and get it straightened out so that you're not aiming at that next curb. You do that, yeah, you just get right by it and you have plenty of room, but you don't want to stay on the gas too long after that curb. You really gotta brake again earlier than you want to, because it's going to plow through this corner here. Miss, hit, miss. You want to hit that and mostly miss that and not go out to the left on that grass, otherwise you're dead. As far as braking here, there's all this. When you have some usage, you'll see these tire marks. I'm braking well before it, because this is one of my Achilles heel corners. I've messed up so many times in the LMP1 coming around here because I got too greedy. So I'm braking here, get it turned in, and kind of head for this paint here, because when you get down here, the car's going to want to sort of fishtail out anyway, at least with the setup I've got. And that allows you to get it turned around this part, because you want to stay as far left as you can. And the reason is you need as much angle in here if you want to stay on the gas all the way without lifting, as much angle around into that right-hander. Let me just back it up and go. It'll stick. It won't go wide if you get that right. And here it's pretty much at the end of the curb, or just before the end of the curbing here. Yeah, I'm just before. So all this crazy graffiti here. Keep it as wide, and this is where I slid out a little too much with not enough braking, but you can get a good angle. Stay left, and I like to brake before this this spot here where the line is. Keep it left and then turn in, and I didn't do a great job there, but yeah. If I had, I would have, yeah, I was sliding a bit, so I would have been closer to the curb here with more of a, you know, angle in, and you can power down earlier than I was able to. And here's another corner where you want to start turning in before you think you have to because of the Audi. So I'm already turning in here, believe it or not. Seems too early, but you get in here, you hit that camber, and it'll just take you right on around. Braking at that, braking at that sign there. No later, or you're going to go off anyway, or at least I would. Now, this corner is very tricky too. I have yet to repeat it 3 times in a row, maybe twice, but 3 times in a row to get it right. It really makes a difference getting on the gas earlier. You can make up probably several tenths by the time you get to the top of the hill. And it's all about rounding as far out as you can without going off, of course, but it is a little slicker out here. Getting it turned in and straightened out, and actually, where did I start gassing it up? Yeah, so I'm already on the gas right here. So I haven't even made the corner, and I'm on the gas because you've got this camber, and she's just gonna slide right on out. Actually, you could slide out further than that, but as long as you get on the gas, it doesn't matter where you come out. You retain that speed, and the car will hook in. Here's the bump I was saying. Right here, you want to shift before you get to this crown, where the car will unload, and you may pop out of gear. If you shift past it, you'll miss the gear, whatever. And here, again, turning in before you think you have to, or you'll just go wide. Starting to turn in right here. So, no markers, but anyway, you got another, cambered corner. You want to be down in that pocket. Keep it from sliding wide. And this is just a run up the hill. You can stay right in the middle. Right here is where I like to actually lift, coast a little bit, because I don't want to shift from 5th into 3rd too soon, since I'm going down 2 gears, not the 4th but the 3rd, and you don't want to pop it into gear too soon. It's not like it's going to blow the motor, because you got a speed limiter, engine speed limiter, rev limiter. But in any case, okay, you can hear that little pause before I actually gassed it to shift. And the reason is because you're going to slide out, but you want to be on the power as much as possible. Let off the gas right after that crown. I downshift back into 3rd to power out here, and I shifted into 4th because the gearing I have, it'll top out before I get to the orange paint. You don't want to go past the orange paint, but I'd already be hitting the rev limiter in 3rd gear, so I just shifted into 4th. You can sort of let it slide out a little bit, but you do want to try to bring it back as soon as you can, closer to this curb, so when you're on the gas it starts sliding out. You don't go over the left-hand curb. And here is just another break point. It's this orange paint, orangey, yellowy graffiti, and dive down in this hole at that angle, because you don't want to pop out of this thing. I keep it in 2nd gear, because if it's in 1st, you come out of this hole, you're going to already be hitting the rev limiter, and trying to shift at the same time, and it just doesn't work as well. Things got enough torque to pull you out and keep on going, so you don't have to shift as much. This is pretty standard boring. Okay, right here, I think I brake a little, just brush the brakes. Yeah, just a bare brush of the brakes to get it turned and power back on the gas. And let off, where did I start braking? Yeah, it's right about this graffiti here, or beginning of the curb, I guess. Beginning of the curbs there. Keep it as far left as you can, which I didn't do a good job. I put it back in second around here. You can power right on out. And yeah, I'm hitting the limiter, but that's one of my warning signs not to go too far. Because a lot of times I'll try to keep in the gas right up to here, and that's too far. You get past that heart and you're still in the gas, you're going too far. You're going to be in the grass or the barrier or whatever. And roll around tight as possible. Stay left. I lift, I don't know where. It's another no mark point, but before you get to the cell tower, maybe. Coast around right there at that change of pavement. I did give it a little gas, but right here you're off the gas because it will go too wide if you get too much speed, and gassing it here will do that. This is yet another one of my Achilles heels going through here. You can take this little flat curb if you want. You're not going to get an X even if you're this far in. And you could take this, of course, but I should have had a little more angle going in, a little bit further to the left. Anyway, and before you get to this circle, VW, whatever it is, I'm going to be off the gas because this is a hard corner not to slide out too wide. And I'm off the brakes well before this Yokohama board, staying in third gear because second gear will max out before you get to this point where you want to brake. Keep it tight, keep it as wide as you can, and off the brakes, power out. And here, hit the wrong button. Ice curve is a really troublesome spot for the Audi. It really likes to slide no matter what you do to the setup, or at least I've found. So I'm braking here well before we even get to a spot that most people brake further up here where that pavement changes. Just doesn't seem to work here because the tail wants to slide around, and I want to avoid that curve on the right. Okay, slight lift of the gas here to prepare for this next corner so you can get back on and forth. And I'm letting off the gas here because this thing will destroy your front end. You're going to see damage on the fender and everything if you hit it too hard coming over it. That was actually a little bit harder than I wanted, but in the end it didn't damage the splitter or the fenders or anything else. So coming through here in third gear, try to stay right and then turn a little earlier than you think you need. I really didn't stay on the gas as much as I wanted. Here you're just hanging on for dear life. It'll hook. I have to lift on my setup. I don't know if other people can get away with it some other way. And I'm braking right after that mess of graffiti here and right before that last bit. So in that blank area. down to third, hug the corner, stay right, lift earlier than you think, or at least get on the brakes right here. There's no mark, of course, because you want to go around here and turn in and not do this, sliding out too wide. My final brake point here is the yellow, and I messed up keeping it in the little corner here, but it's not a disaster. This thing will still turn, and you can't see it because of the glare, but there's some yellow-orange graffiti here. I like to lift just before that. I'm starting to already lift and brake, because you want to get around this corner on the gas and keep it wide, a little wide, so that when you lift at the top of the hill, you can get it to hug down here on that curb. That's your target, because you can hit the gas even before that and stay on it, and that gets you as good a launch down the Dottinger that you're going to get. And this is the boring part, but I stay left. I like this part because it probably blocks wind, if there's any, better than over here. But you can see, you know, the setup, I'm hitting 270. This is about all I think it can do before I cross over here at the bottom of the dip. Just gently turn it in, and when I get down here, I'm turning on there, and I'm lifting a little bit before, just after that last curve, but before here, just lifting a little, because you can't keep it planted, or I can't. Give it a little gas if you want, but the end of this pavement is a mark for me to know I got to brake hard enough so I can turn left into that little crook. This is where I wanted to go. I kind of went a little further right, but you want to take advantage of that camber right there so you can stay far enough left and not take it so slow like I did going over the curb again, but stay right and power out. So what I ended up with was, that was an 822.4. It's almost identical to my quali lap. 487, really? Wow. But that's the second lap on full tank. You only get the first lap in the quali session. But anyway, that's my way of doing Nords in this thing. It is a fun track on both cars, the Nissan and the Audi. But it's a challenge, so hope it helped.